I've just seen an interview on CNN with the CEO of Huawei, the Chinese telecoms giant, Ren Zhengfei. Now, Huawei's been in the news a lot recently. It's going to be in the news because it is the world's biggest telecoms provider, but it's been in the news for all the wrong reasons, and that is namely its suspected ties to espionage. And I have to say, at this point, they're still suspected, or there's speculation rather. Nothing's been concretely proven. But in this interview, basically, Ren was complaining, it was on CNN, he was complaining about Huawei being singled out, as he put it. Um, and there's ongoing tensions with the West at the moment, of course, over the incident with his daughter, Meng Wanzhou, who was arrested in Vancouver last year, which led to a huge fallout between Canada and China. Now, I want to explain why I don't trust this guy and I don't trust Huawei. And it's quite simple. Ren Zhengfei is a member of the Communist Party. And not just that, this guy is a former military engineer in the PLA. So for him to rationally say that the West needn't be concerned that Huawei is being used as a sort of avenue for espionage by the Chinese government, he must think the Western intelligence services are stupid. I don't think they'd be very blunt about it. I think they'd be smart. They would be smart about it. But here's the thing: he cannot claim independence. Why? Because in China, it is absolutely impossible to get as successful as he is. He's got a personal fortune estimated at almost 2 billion. He's a major businessman. It's impossible to get to that level without without Communist Party ties. Impossible. There is no such thing as independent business in China. Every business person, from major CEOs like him right down to small companies, have to have party ties. And it isn't just the West that cited fears. India has expressed security concerns with Huawei. Personally, I won't be buying any Huawei models, partly because I can't afford them, and partly for this reason. I certainly don't want to be investing in a product that may well be used for espionage against my country. And it's speculation, but I think it's speculation with a strong grounding. Um, I think really we need to be very assertive with things like this. I mean, China, I would not be surprised if they're using something like Huawei in part of their quest to be the global superpower. And this century is going to be defined by the American Chinese relationship. I've said repeatedly, I love China, the country. I have absolutely no love for communism and the dishonesty of the Chinese Communist Party, not to mention the endemic repression. But even outside of what goes on within China, which is abhorrent, I just think it's staggering for Ren Zhengfei to lie through his teeth and claim that he's independent of the Chinese government. I mean, who's he kidding? You cannot get to that level in the Chinese system without having close ties to the party. You just can't do it. So this guy is a member of the Communist Party. He's he's a dedicated communist. He's also a businessman. So, he's a smart guy. He will know the right language to use. He's not going to come to Western countries and preach communist ideological mantra. And he said that in the interview, he said, I hereby say today that if there's ever any attempts for the state to tell me what to do, I'll refuse, i.e., what to do in terms of these speculations. But, that's just professional lies. The Communist Party of China is built on lies. and it is built on lies are seen as more important than losing face and than losing power. If it means lying for your teeth to do that, then so be it. I don't trust Huawei at all. In terms of its services, I can't say because I've never really had a decent smartphone. So I can't compare it to other products in terms of leaving the politics aside. I can't compare its what it's like compared to other products. I do need to get a higher level smartphone. But here's the thing: he said, "Oh, why is Ericsson not targeted?" And he quoted other providers. Well, Ericsson is Danish company, Finnish, can't remember, but there's just no comparison between other how other providers operate and how Huawei and other major Chinese companies operate because they are absolutely servants of the Chinese government. It's irrefutable. Of course, they're going to operate as every major business does when they're trying to open up markets around the world. They're not going to have any sort of ideological material in their PR. They're subtle about it. But if you just look into how power works in China, the Communist Party has absolute power. Therefore, for anybody to get any influence at a top level, you have to have Communist Party connections. Therefore, by definition, if Huawei is trying to make roads into other countries, then it's a reasonable concern that those other countries are going to wonder, well, this is connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Um, where's the funding coming from? Where is the influence coming from? I would not put it past the Chinese state to try something like this. So I think before granting any licenses to Huawei, we need to put some very tough questions to Ren Zhengfei. And he could get as defensive as he wants, but he needs to explain these things. He asked, why is Huawei being targeted? That's why. This isn't a case of picking on China. It's a case of looking at the facts. And the fact is, he personally and his company are very closely linked to the ruling party of a totalitarian state that tolerates no dissent at home and has demonstrated aggressive nationalism masquerading as its peaceful rise. I certainly don't trust the Chinese Communist Party, and by extension, I don't trust Huawei. Incidentally, in the Meng Wanzhou case, those three Canadians that have been arrested, one of them's a former diplomat. China claims that they have evidence that they were spying. I can't say, I don't know whether they were spying or not, but it's very clear, and they deny this, but it's very clear that the timing of that, and also that Canadian who was on death row for the drug charges, it's very, very clear they want to, hit Canada hard. If it wasn't for this Brexit mess going on in the UK, we could be focusing on things like this and, frankly, backing our Canadian friends because what the Chinese government is doing is I don't even like to say bullying Canada because Canada is a strong country. Canada is no pushover, but I think the world needs to really wake up and see what the Chinese regime is trying around the world. This is just the hallmarks of China's rise, and you can point to other countries what America's done here, there, and everywhere, and that's fine, but I think where there are security concerns that have to be taken seriously. And the Chinese can talk about, I'm talking about the Chinese government here, can talk about hurt feelings and all the usual thin skinned defensive lines that they try. It's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing because when it suits them, they play the victim and they're super sensitive and they're so offended. And yet, when it also suits them, they have incredibly jingoistic, ultra nationalistic pieces in their Chinese version of Xinhua and other state broadcasters.